They were untouchable, four young men who ruled the world. Every song they made became history, every word became legend. But behind the fame, behind the smiles, something was breaking. The world watched them rise together and fall apart, one moment at a time. This is the truth, the 10 moments that destroyed the Beatles. Number 10. The death of Brian Epstein, 1967. When Brian Epstein, their trusted manager and friend, died of an overdose, it was the day the band lost its anchor. He wasn't just a manager, he was the glue that kept the Beatles from falling apart. Without Brian, chaos crept in. The group lost direction, discipline, and someone to mediate their egos. Paul tried to take charge, but it only created tension with John. Behind the scenes, George and Ringo quietly resented the constant control. It wasn't visible to the fans yet. The music still sounded magical. But the harmony inside was gone. Epstein once said, "The boys will be fine without me." He was wrong. His death didn't just end a chapter. It started the slow collapse of the greatest band the world had ever known. Number 9. The growing divide between Lennon and McCartney. Once inseparable, John Lennon and Paul McCartney were the heart of the Beatles. But by the late 60s, their friendship began to crack. Paul was a perfectionist, chasing polished melodies and clean takes. John wanted raw emotion, a reflection of his changing world and his new muse, Yoko Ono. What once felt like creative harmony now felt like competition. Recording sessions turned cold. Smiles faded. Even when they sang together, they were miles apart. And yet, without realizing it, both were trying to save the same thing, a band that was already slipping away. Number 8. The White Album Tensions, 1968. During the White Album sessions, the studio felt less like Abbey Road and more like a battlefield. Each Beatle worked on their own songs, often in separate rooms. George and Ringo felt ignored, while John and Paul fought over direction. At one point, Ringo quit the band, left a note saying, "I'm not with it anymore." He came back weeks later, but the damage was done. The album turned out brilliant, but the unity that once defined the Beatles was gone forever. Number 7. The Yoko Ono factor. Yoko Ono didn't break up the Beatles, but she changed the balance. For the first time, someone else sat beside John during every recording session. Paul, George, and Ringo felt the intrusion, but John saw it as love and liberation. He was no longer John from the Beatles. He was John Lennon, the artist, the rebel, the man in love. It wasn't her fault. It was timing. The band needed space, and Yoko filled the silence that music no longer could. Number 6. Apple Corps, the dream that turned into chaos. The Beatles wanted to give back, to build a company that would nurture young artists. They called it Apple Corps. But instead of creative freedom, they found financial disaster. Money disappeared, staff quit, and lawsuits piled up. Paul tried to bring order. John didn't care. One by one, the others stopped believing in the dream. It was the perfect metaphor for their lives, built on idealism, destroyed by reality. Number 5. George Harrison's frustration. George Harrison had grown, spiritually and musically, but inside the Beatles, he was still the quiet one. His songs were often rejected or overlooked. Imagine writing "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" and watching it almost get cut. By 1969, George had enough. He left during a rehearsal, calmly saying, "See you around the clubs." Without George, the Beatles were no longer four, and deep down, they all knew it was just a matter of time. Number 4. Alan Klein and the Management War. When Brian Epstein died, a new war began. Who would control the business? Paul wanted his in-laws, the Eastmans. John, George, and Ringo chose the bold, ruthless manager Alan Klein. It was the final crack in the foundation. Money, contracts, and betrayal poisoned every meeting. By the time Paul realized Klein wasn't who he claimed to be, it was too late. The band was already beyond repair. Number 3. The Let It Be disaster, 1969 to 1970. The Let It Be project was meant to heal the band. Instead, it showed the world their collapse. The cameras captured cold silences, tense stares, and creative exhaustion. When the film released, fans saw not legends, but broken men trapped in their own success. It was supposed to be a comeback, but it became their final goodbye. Number 2. John's departure, 1969. In September 1969, John Lennon quietly told the others, "I want a divorce." He didn't mean marriage. He meant the Beatles. The words hit like thunder. No screaming, no fighting, just a stunned silence. John had found a new voice in his solo work, and he didn't look back. For the first time since Liverpool, the Beatles were 3. Number 1. Paul's announcement, 1970. When Paul McCartney publicly announced the Beatles were done, it broke millions of hearts. He didn't want to be the one to end it. He just wanted the truth out. In that moment, childhoods ended and an era died. The dream was over, but what they left behind would last forever. They were more than a band. They were a revolution in melody and meaning. And though they broke apart, their music never did, because legends don't truly end. They just echo through time.